Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest Pro Soccer Talk. I'm your host, Joe Prince-Wright. Delighted to be joined by Andy Edwards in Kansas City and Nick Mendola in Buffalo, New York. Switch it up a bit there, guys, for this week. Let's focus on the first big segment, lads. Get straight into it. The full season is here. That means the Champions League is in full flow. And Nick, let's talk about your Newcastle United squad. We've got a lot to recap, a lot of crazy wins and games. But big question is, how far can Newcastle go? Because that win against Paris Saint-Germain was incredible to witness at St. James's Park. Had local lads playing the hero roles, great atmosphere. Of course, Kylian Mbappe didn't know what hit him when that rain was pouring down and the goals were flying in. So, yeah, how are you feeling as a Newcastle fan with a very, very good start to life back in the Champions League?
A little bit of a niche comment here, but I hope people get the reference. I don't know what to do with my hands. I feel like Nicky Bobby, if you will. It was such a strange experience for me. This is a team, the only time I've seen them in person in England was during a relegation campaign at Stoke, and you're with a bunch of people going nuts, just trying to will Andy Carroll and interim manager Alan Shearer to get you out of this jam. And I thought of that moment so many times during that game, even when it was 1-0 to Newcastle. And I'm thinking to myself, how great is this? You're leading at home to PSG. So to get to 4-1 and to have Dan Burns score and Sean Longstaff and Fabian Schär, who was a £3 million buy, like, granted, there were 40 million players all over the field. So it's not like you can make that. But these are guys, and I just thought about them. I thought about being a fan there and the players and all of them, the ones like Longstaff who could be thinking 2 years ago, I was playing for Steve Bruce and I didn't know what I was doing. And now we are beating PSG. And so how far they can go, it goes, it's this again, because the way they played against a PSG team that by the end of it didn't want to be there. I get it. Yeah. I actually thought of Andy a few times, and I thought back to the first time that Tottenham made an extended run in the Champions League. They can go as far as you want, but I'm not picking it because this is just crazy and fun.
Andy, do you agree with this sort of notion that it could be cliche, but St. James's Park on a winter's evening, the rain's lashing down, the fans are going crazy. I mean, even the best players in the world, that has to impact them in some way. And I feel like Newcastle, they've made a very good start to the group stage. They are in the group of death along with Milan and Dortmund with some tough games to come. But if they make it through this group, they've been set up very nicely for the knockout rounds, because it's almost like they're having knockout round games in the group stages. So if they get to the knockout rounds, nobody, and I mean absolutely nobody, is going to want to go to St. James's and play against this team that was so fired up, like Nick said, that had just passion, heart, commitment, and they were deserved winners. PSG had chances, don't get me wrong, but Newcastle were clinical, took their moment in the spotlight, and I feel like there's a couple of more big wins for them at St. James's in the Champions League this season. What do you think?
Yeah, well, first things first, this is why we love the Champions League, and this is why we love sport as well. It's one of the final few true meritocracies left in the world where you get what you earn, and you earn a place into the Champions League. You earn the opportunity to have these kind of nights. Now, Newcastle have to go through, like you say, Joe, a gauntlet in the group stage with PSG and Dortmund and AC Milan in there. And so it's not going to be easy, but they've shown over at least the first two games that they belong in there. And in the way that they took the game to PSG, they had a game plan, they set out, they executed it from minute one. They knew they weren't going to have a ton of possession. They knew they were going to have to be clinical and quick on the counterattack, and they were going to have to make life really difficult for PSG. And, PSG... how much did they want to be there when the game started? Forget about when they got down a couple of goals and when the rain started coming down. There's a lot of turmoil going on there right now, and so maybe this is the right time to get them. But yeah, Nick brings up a great point about the first time that Spurs got into the Champions League. You go in with this, blind, naivete of not expecting to do it, but hey, why can't we? Why not? And that kind of seems to be the mindset, not just of the fans for Newcastle right now, but the players have that as well. And I think when you have that within the team, and then you have that support the way that they did at St. James, it goes hand in hand, and you get what is, and Nick, you tell me, one of the most, if not the most unforgettable night in the history of Newcastle, at least in the last 20, 25, 30, a lot of years, because that wasn't expected when the game kicked off, I don't think.
I mean, in my time, it's hard to pick another moment. The only thing I could say is the Cheick Tiote comeback against Arsenal. But that was a different stage. That was just kind of a game happening that sticks with you. Yeah. One thing I'll say, just to go back to Joe's point about how far they can go, what's neat about this team, and you probably could say this about Spurs back when Kane was becoming a star but wasn't the guy he became, who are you targeting, right? Like, there isn't a guy that you say, when you go into that PSG game, you say, I love Hakimi. I think he's underrated, but let someone besides Mbappe beat me. What are you going to try and take? Bruno's the best player on the team. You're going to take Bruno out of the game. Great. There's Tonali and it's working in a unit. And that's what I think Eddie Howe has going for him. And what I was concerned about when they hired him was at Bournemouth, he got to a point where it was, he wants to play wide open, but what are his answers when the other team takes a 2-goal lead? He's matured. And I think it's tricky to play a team that there isn't one superstar that you're going to go try and shut down.
Yeah, talking about tricky, Nick, Arsenal and Manchester United both lost. Very tricky for them. United, another Andre Onana mistake. They lost at home to Galatasaray. Casemiro got a red card because of that Onana mistake. Another nightmare outing for United. And then Arsenal losing away at Lens as well, which was a bit of a surprise. Bukayo Saka came off injured. And again, a bit of a cauldron of an atmosphere there in northern France. And Arsenal came unstuck a little bit. So I guess what was your biggest takeaway from the midweek action in the Champions League, Nick?
The inevitability of some teams that used to be Arsenal and Manchester United. And so the reflection on that is that it isn't them. Man City, it's the 75th minute. I'm checking my phone because I'm watching Newcastle, and it's 1-1. And I'm like, they're still going to win. Like, even at Leipzig, they're still going to win. And I didn't even check the Barcelona score. And I love watching Barcelona. They're probably a team I've watched more. They're going to win. Bayern, right? Oh, boy, Copenhagen is – nope, they're going to win. That used to be Arsenal and Man United. And it isn't that they still can't be those teams. It's your team can lose its specter. And Arsenal is they're new to the Champions League, which is a funny thing to say. And Man United is just they're like AC Milan was for a while when they were in the Champions League. Oh, this team has great history, and it's going to be really hard playing at the San Siro. But it's not like, oh my God, can we win? And Old Trafford was that. Old Trafford was that even recently, but not that recently. And it's crazy to think about what that means. Because, I mean, Old Trafford, think about it, Joe. What has it meant our entire lives, Andy? Like, it is meant to go somewhere that you're not going to win. And it's just not that.
Domination, winning. Talking about that, Real Madrid getting it done as well, Andy. Jude Bellingham, just another goal. Incredible start to life at Real Madrid. I guess that, like Nick said, there's kind of a group of teams there, City, Bayern, Barcelona, Madrid, all kind of getting it done early in the competition and just setting their stall out quite nicely. But any other change in your favourites? Because I think most of us picked City to win it, right? And they're looking like they still had the strongest squad, even though they're missing a few big players early on.
Yeah, you can tell by the way that teams are handling this group stage and just not going through the motions, but they've been there before. They know that this is part of the process and it's not too big. These are not big moments for the clubs that you just listed there, Joe, whereas some of the other ones that we're talking about right now, Arsenal and United, it feels like every time they take the field, it's a referendum on, well, who are Manchester United? Who are this Arsenal team right now that's young and coming of age? It's not that for Bayern. It's not that for City. It's not that for Madrid. And the results, would seem to indicate as such.
Yeah, and just want to shout out to a couple of big results. Antwerp were 2-0 up at home against Shakhtar Donetsk and lost 3-2. Incredible away win there for Shakhtar. And then Lazio scoring pretty much the last kick of the game to win away at Celtic. Not going to say who tipped Lazio to be a surprise package this season in Champions League, but we'll just leave it there with that comment. But I'm sure there's going to be plenty more surprises along the way. So head over to Pro Soccer Talk on NBCSports.com for all the latest Champions League news. We'll have you covered with all the latest information, how to watch information as well, and goals, highlights, analysis. it's already fun, and it's going to get really even better now as we push through the fall season and the Champions League gets towards the end of the group stage. Already the big boys are flexing their muscles. Let's see if there's any more surprises in store in the Champions League.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. And for even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock. And be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend on USA Network and on Peacock. We will see you there.